Thanks for tuning in, guys. In this video, we're going to be giving you some good tips about what we notice and what we see and how Africa is really not what it seems. So
Mm.
stick around to the end and enjoy the content. Shalom, family.
Shalom.
Welcome to the channel, guys. We are Journey with Us, family of 7. Been here in Africa for 4 years, and we are going to share with you guys what we notice about Africa because it's not what it seems. And these tips that we're going to give you is going to be very important if you're looking to move long term to Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. Because number one, people talk about Africa and even like Africans within the continent, unless they're well traveled, maybe like
Mm-hmm.
Nigerians or Congolese or Ghanaians, I've noted, or Kenyans. I've noticed a lot of those people that are from those countries are usually well traveled some of the time. But there's 54 different countries, y'all. Like, just meditate on that for a second. Not two different countries, not 10, not 33 different countries, not even 45 different countries. 54 different countries in Africa. I know when we were in Tanzania, Tanzania alone had like 120 different tribes. So
Mm-hmm.
Africa is very vast. Like, it's more vast than you can even imagine, with populations that exceed 2 billion. I believe it exceeds 2 billion, where you have the average person that has 4 children, and so it's foolish to come to a specific place. Let's say you go to Ghana, let's say you go to Namibia, let's say you go to Kenya,
Mm-hmm.
and you assume that if you cross the border and go to Malawi, go to Zambia, go to Nigeria, that it would be the exact same as a country that you left. That's just not reality when you come to Africa. There are different cultures within each country, and then within that country, different tribes.
Exactly. And I know for me personally, this is what I struggle with. We were in Tanzania for almost 4 years, and I believe the whole Africa was like that. And since traveling, it's like, wow, Tanzania is
Mm,
just like Tanzania.
right.
Zambia is just like Zambia. Zanzibar is just like Zanzibar.
Yeah.
And the country that we're in now is just like the country we're in now.
Yeah.
So all is 54 different countries that's going to be separate from, and I guess I can say do different things their way,
Mhm.
than the other
Mhm.
countries. So you always got to keep that in your head.
Yeah, that's true. Even from building, that's something we noticed coming from Tanzania. Even the way like houses are built, the way people build here, some of the building
Mm,
codes, like there's so many different levels to being on the continent. What happens in Rwanda don't happen in South Africa. What happens in
exactly.
South Africa may not happen in Botswana. And then that brings us to the next point, which is literally the terrain. We
Yes.
saw something a few weeks ago where they were saying there was like a lot of snow in Johannesburg, South Africa, and we're also in Southern Africa, but we don't get snow where we're
Yeah.
at.
Can you
It does
believe
not
it?
snow here.
Can you believe it, guys? It was snowing in Africa, right? I know coming from America, coming from the West, we're like, no, it doesn't snow. Africa's hot. If you ask pretty much the normal person, they would be like, yeah, Africa's that's the hottest place, Africa.
Yeah.
But it was actually snowing.
Yeah.
They really have, you can say 4 seasons.
Yeah, they have their full 4 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
but not everywhere in Africa snows. If you go to Ghana and Nigeria, I'm pretty sure they're like,
Yeah.
no, it don't snow here.
Yeah.
If you go to
Never seen
Sierra
it.
Leone, they're like, no, it doesn't snow here.
Never seen the snow.
But in Tanzania, on top of Kilimanjaro, it snows. So you even have these different terrains just within one country. I know also when we were in Tanzania, we went up to the mountains that were like a rainforest. You won't
Mm-hmm.
find the rainforest in Dar es Salaam or Dodoma, where in Dodoma it's basically a desert.
Yeah.
And so you have all of these different terrains, even the areas that you're like, oh, this is so fertile. You come to a country like the one we're in now, y'all, I'm telling you, we have tomato plants growing out the ground that we did not plant. It's growing
Mm-hmm.
between concrete, and I'm like, how is it so fertile here? Like, this is the most fertile African country I've ever experienced yet.
Exactly. Like really, it's very fertile here. I believe anywhere in Africa, but that kind of brings us to the next point, which we already kind of touched on, is what works in one country doesn't work in the other. Just say in South Africa, it's different than Ghana, and Nigeria is different than Tanzania. So you really have to place your feet on the ground and do your research because every country is really different.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I was listening to Black Acres of the Gambia earlier. I'm sure a lot of people hear about their channel. They moved to Gambia like long time ago, like seven
Mhm.
years ago or something like that. But they were talking about how, like, when the Gambians drive, sometimes they'll run over the cows and the donkeys. I was like, dang, really? Because I've never seen that happen here in this country. And
Or
I've
in
never seen that
Tanzania,
happen in Tanzania. Like, typically people will slow down, let the goats and the cows pass by. If there's donkeys, when we lived in Tonga, Tanzania, you may see donkeys crossing the street, or somebody may be riding the donkey and have a, do you call it a carriage? I think it's like a carriage that they would be
yeah.
riding with the donkey. But they said in Gambia, people run over the cows. I'm like, wow, really? So you can see just the difference between these different countries, where it's like, oh, you may hop up and say, oh my gosh, Africans are always such in a hurry because they're running over the animals. But over in East Africa or Southern
It's
Africa, it
not.
may be
Yeah.
a different story. And so we implore you, as the diaspora and even as Africans that are in your different countries, and if you haven't traveled, understand that the
Hmm.
one country you in is just like the one country that you are in,
Yes.
and give space for all of them to be drastically different,
Yes.
like drastically different.
And that just goes from um, the very local person to the top of the president. So
True,
you have to think about it's different levels to everything.
true,
But I want to say the local life um, is pretty similar, but it's different
right.
because I would say the community around Africa and each country is similar because they really care about the community. They really care
Mm-hmm.
about the people that's around them, and they can tell that you're not from here, but they always have open arms to welcome you.
Mm-hmm.
So for that's one thing that I love about Africa. No
Yeah.
matter where you go, it's always a community that's going to have open arms and just love you in their community. So always keep that in mind.
Yeah, and it's common depending on, I'm sure this is the same across most African countries. But for example, in America, somebody was doing a video. I don't remember if it was an immigrant or a US citizen. It doesn't matter. Either way, they were doing a video and they were talking about how when they go outside, they don't see humans. Like they go outside, nobody's there. They could walk for miles and just nobody's around. And it's so much different in Africa, where you
Yeah.
can go outside and you'll see people in all different spaces. You'll see people on busy streets. You'll see people on calm streets. You'll see people on scooters. You'll see people on motorcycles. You'll just see people everywhere doing something. They're just always outside. Versus in America, I don't know what it is with America, but like people are afraid to go outside. Well, it is dangerous. You can't lie. In America, if
Hmm.
you're black, you may get scooped up by the folks and police. Then also, if you're black, remember that brother who was, I think his family was from Ghana. He was like 14. He went down the street to go check on his little brother, knocked on the wrong door. He got
Mm,
shot in the head. And so there is that tension in America that you just don't find in Africa. Doesn't matter
exactly.
what's happening around different spaces in the continent, humans are allowed to just be human without this strange attack mode that happens in the West.
Exactly.
Business in Africa is done differently across different countries, right? When we were in
Hmm.
Tanzania, people would always compare Kenya to Tanzania. Tanzanians would be like, oh my gosh, those Kenyans are so fast. All they care about is money. Then the
Hmm.
Kenyans on the flip side, they're like, no, we care about
Uh,
customer service. We care about ethics. We want to make sure that business is done right. And so you'll
mhm.
hear these different dynamics going on across the continent. And I can even say, like, when we looked into the South African digital nomad visa versus where we are now, the digital nomad visa, and what they include in it. For example, South Africa wants you to show your tax returns. Here, they want you to show bank statements. So it's literally these little nuances that you must understand. If you're
Mhm.
going, let's say you're going to Cape Verde to do their digital nomad visa, if you falsely assume, oh, Cape Verde's digital nomad visa or their business climate is similar to South Africa, you're going to wind up very frustrated, confused, and you may be taking the first flight back to America because you did not do your research.
Yes.
Each country is different when it comes
Yes.
to business, both the culture of business, where it may be slow in one culture or country. If you go to Nigeria or Kenya or Ghana or South Africa or even the one we're in, they don't
Hmm.
really play when it comes to business. Not meaning
Exactly.
that it's capitalist like the West, but when they say they're
They
going to
really
do
care.
something, it
Yeah.
gets done. And when it comes to customer service, they care, and you have somebody to basically advocate for you when it comes to customer service. In some
Exactly.
other countries, you don't find that as much if they don't preference business.
Yeah. Because coming from Tanzania, I really thought this country was gonna be like that.
Yeah.
Like really, I'm shocked. I'm like, wow, this is maybe one of the best countries because just the customer service and how they
Yeah.
care about
Yeah.
taking care of people, making sure everything is solid for you. Like really,
Yeah.
just a quick story. Just the other day, an incident happened, and um, the boss actually came out his pocket to make sure I was okay.
Yeah.
So that was a
Right.
shock to me. Like coming from Tanzania, it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, it's
It's a
lost.
loss.
Yeah, it's a loss. Let's just go. Let's just I ain't trying to deal with it. But the boss actually
Oh
came out his
gosh.
pocket to make sure that we was good. You know,
Yeah.
you're welcome back because they really care like that. They say, hey, this person can leave a review or something and ruin us for the next 2 weeks or the next month or just ruin the business in general. So we really have to be really attentive about situations like this to make sure our customers is good.
Yeah.
And that
That's
goes a long,
beautiful.
long way.
Oh, it goes such a long
So
way.
I'm telling you,
Man.
the Africans that's in Africa and you're starting a business, customer service is very, very important. I
Yes.
know working at a restaurant, when I was in my early 20s, they always say the customer is always right. And I didn't understand that, but now I'm starting to see, like, okay, yeah, the customer is always right,
Yeah.
especially if you care about your
Yeah.
business.
Right. If you want to have a business. Now, if you don't want to have a business, just
Exactly.
throw it out. If that's what
Exactly.
you want to do, throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Is that the
What?
same? That's not the same.
Oh no, I ain't never heard that. I thought the
Oh, it's
bathwater just
don't
go.
throw the baby out with the bath.
All right, guys. So our next point. Look, you need to prepare before
Oh
you leave. So when you're on the verge of leaving and you really want to move and not go back to the West,
gosh.
you
Mm-hmm.
really need to prepare mentally. Well, first I would say you need to prepare spiritually, but mentally is right there with it because if you're not prepared to say, "Hey, I'm not going back. This is going to be my journey, and no matter what happens, I'm stepping out on faith and believing that this is going to work out." It's going to work out. So you have to know and have to prepare yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically and emotionally because it is a lot that you leave like your whole life because
Mm-hmm.
that comes with
Yeah.
family, that comes with a lot. So it's like, man, you really have to be strong into the Most High's word.
You have to know what your goal is. I think a lot of people come to Africa, and I think most humans in general just aren't very intentional with what they want their life
Mm,
to look like. Just because the age of AI, the age of social media, you're constantly being bombarded with all these things. But seriously, take some time to understand what you want your life to look like, your specific life, you, individually, you, what you want your life to look like. Because for
mm-hmm,
us as a family of seven, our life looks different from you if you're a single person, right? If you're a
mm-hmm.
single father, or if you're somebody that doesn't have children, you're single, or if you're someone that maybe even just has one child, our life looks wildly different. And so that's
Exactly.
why you need to understand what's right for you. And
Mm-hmm.
make sure when you're coming to these African countries, do not let one bad story deter you.
Yeah.
Don't let one bad story deter you. Take it with a grain of salt. Understand, like, okay, this may be something I watch out for, but go and experience it and enjoy life for yourself. Because I can tell you right now, if we listen to the bad stories people told us, we'd probably be back in Ohio.
Yeah. Like really.
If we would
Yeah.
have listened to the bad stories, and you have to understand that bad stories are not the full reality of the world.
Yeah. Because we hear a lot, but nothing like the stories that we hear ever happens to us. And that's because we just have a spirit of being African with open arms.
True. That's
It's
true.
not
That's a
like
good point.
we prepared ourselves before coming, just like I was just saying, spiritually,
That's true.
physically, emotionally, um, eating. Like 2 months before we left, 5 months before we left, we was trying to eat rice and beans and just getting used to this is what Africans eat.
Yes,
So we want
Ghanaian
to
jollof rice because we thought we
we
were headed to Ghana.
exactly we need to be prepared in that way.
Yeah,
So you really have to prepare when you're really serious about this move.
yeah. And this is literally the best time to move. Babylon is literally just falling down the drain. Y'all know, like those metal slides, like
Mm,
how fast you go on those metal slides, and then that's America right now. They're just like it's just tumbling down the drain. The UK with it, France with it. So this is the time to not let any deterrent deter you and get in your way to enjoy your life in Africa, to travel. And what? I'm so glad I got this. I don't know if people, the Africans that you hung out with, told you the same thing before coming. But when we were in Ohio and I would talk to this lady from Zimbabwe, I would talk to a lady from Sierra Leone, I would talk
mm,
to people from Nigeria, they would always tell me travel around Africa. And when you go, stay for at least a month, ideally 3 months. They would always tell me that.
mm,
I would always say, "Hey, I'm gonna move to Africa one day. I'm gonna go travel Africa. I'm going to Africa one day." They would always say, "Make sure you travel around to see which country fits you. Make sure you see which one is right for you."
mm.
Because we are in the day and age where it has never been easier to travel,
Yeah.
especially as an American. So take advantage of that. When you can go from Johannesburg to Zambia, or Johannesburg to Dar es Salaam, or Johannesburg to Lome, Togo, right? These are affordable flight routes that you can take and just experience the different regions to see which one resonates with you. You don't have to go to like 5 different places. Just go to like 2 different places and just see what it's like between the
Yeah.
two,
Because
and
of
learn the customs and the culture and see, okay, which one do I think resonates with me more.
exactly. So I hope you guys enjoyed the content. I hope you guys enjoyed the information, the quick tips. So make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Leave your comments below.
Yeah.
And yeah, we appreciate you guys.
And PS, let us know your top 2 African countries you want to see in 2025 and beyond. Shalom.
Shalom.